I will keep this one brief. DarksidersGenesis, a top-down hack-and-slash twin-stick shooter hybrid made by Airship Syndicate, the studio of Darksiders co-creator and creative director Joe Mad. Genesis एक प्रीक्वल स्पिन-ऑफ है जिसमें वॉर एंड स्ट्राइफ सीरीज के ओवरआर्चिंग एंटेगनिस्ट समायल के साथ एक अनईजी अलायंस क्रिएट करते हैं टू डिफीट डीमन मास्टर मोलॉक अलोंगसाइड हिज एलाइज जो एक बिग कॉन्स्पिरेसी का पार्ट है रिलेटेड टू द रूलर ऑफ द हेल लूसिफर. बीइंग ए स्पिन-ऑफ एंड अ प्रीक्वल, डार्कसाइडर्स जेनेसिस सीरीज के ओवरऑल नैरेटिव को पुश करने की जगह लोर को एक्सपेंड करता है व्हाइल सेटिंग अप लूसिफर एज द बिग बैड ऑफ द सीरीज जो एवरी गेम में ब्रीफली अपीयर होता है एक्सक्लूडिंग Darksiders 1. The game also does a great job at characterizing War and Strife. War is much more of a three-dimensional character now, honored, duty-bound, but someone who can show empathy and other emotions when needed. Strife is the most grounded and down-to-earth horseman in the group, a former killer who loved his work but came to regret some decisions he made. His characteristics reminded me of Dante, a cool, quippy guy who never shuts up but has regrets regarding his past that he tries to hide. एक great character archetype जो personally मुझे काफ़ी पसंद है. Other than that, Strife is also the most compassionate of all four horsemen, who look at humanity and see something worth saving. Darksiders Genesis does a great job at setting Strife's character, and I really hope we will get his solo game soon, because I would love to see more of his character. Gameplay-wise, Darksiders Genesis, two different playstyle में divided हैं, hack and slash for War and twin stick shooter for Strife. War plays exactly and honestly better than his Darksiders 1 version. He has all of his combos from the first game but much more expanded, though he only has one weapon which is Chaos Eater. Both character also has multiple abilities which can be used mid-combat. Strife is the lead of the game and his main focus is shooting. Players at the same time two different types of bullets use कर सकते हैं, ranging from standard, static, gravity, electricity, laser beam, lava and nature. All the ammo type has different effects and damage types, providing enough room for experimentation. Strife also has close quarter combat, but it's just there for the sake of it, and both characters have their devil triggers. This is the overall combat loop of the game, which is good and serviceable, but just like every other Darksiders game make good mix of platforming and puzzles है, which makes the overall gameplay better. Most of the puzzles के लिए players को both characters का use करना होता है, which they can do by switching between them. But this is where the main focus of the game comes, which is co-op. And makes the game miles better since both players को throughout the entire game as a team work करना होगा to defeat demons and most importantly complete these co-op puzzles. For its ARPG and loot mechanics, Darksiders Genesis एक completely different system का use करता है compared to most ARPGs. जहाँ instead of collecting loot like armor and weapons, players enemies की soul collect करते हैं, which provides passive buffs to both characters. There is an extensive chart जिसमें players को इन souls को insert करना होता है, and depending upon the soul and where they are slotted, players can create a variety of builds focusing on different passive buffs. And to collect these souls, players both main missions and arena में compete कर सकते हैं, which is basically the crucible of this game, जिसमें players many waves of enemies and enemy types से fight करते हैं to collect and develop their souls. While not being as satisfying as collecting loot, soul system a good alternative है to the standard ARPG loot fest, जो players को बहुत dopamine hit and build variety provide करती है, and it works well for the entirety of game's length. There is another thing which Genesis pulls off really well, and that is music. Composed by Ori, Halo Infinite, and Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown fame, Gareth Cocker, Genesis has the most hype music in the entire series. चाहे हम बात करें random battle music की, or music for some of the most important moments like Astarte. The music is simply the best in the series and has its own identity, something the previous games lacked. And I really hope Gunfire Games will bring back Gareth Cocker for the future Darksiders games. And this was Darksiders Genesis, a simple, straightforward and single-minded game which is a great spin-off for the series, especially when played with a friend. This is not my favorite in the series, but I'm glad it exists, and people who love this genre will love Darksiders Genesis for what it is. So currently, Darksiders Genesis is the final game in the series जो 2019 में रिलीज हुआ था, and the series has been dormant ever since. But on August 3rd, 2024, THQ Nordic finally announced a new Darksiders game. We don't have any kind of information on what kind of game it is, but considering it is being developed by Gunfire Games, जो now series के lead developers हैं, I'm certain this is Darksiders 4 starring Strife as the lead character. Because he's the only horseman who don't have his own game yet, and the ending of Darksiders 3 left many unanswered questions regarding his character. So I'm sure we'll finally get some answers to them, and then Darksiders 5 will finally be the team up game of the series. Just all 4 horsemen will come together to fight their nemesis. This is gonna be a bit controversial, but there is one last thing that is remaining, which is ranking. Number 4 is DarksidersGenesis. A great game for people who love the genre, but personally I'm not a huge fan of ARPGs, and the story of the game was just okay, though points for characteristics of Strife and War. Number 3 is Darksiders. A solid start to the series with great gameplay and dungeon design, but I despise the final act of the game because of the backtracking and how it destroys the entire momentum and pacing of the game. Here's the controversial one. My second favorite game in the series is Darksiders 3 because of gameplay, boss fight, fully interconnected world, and of course, Dommy Mommy Fury. My number 1 and objectively the best game in the series, Darksiders 2. Amazing protagonist and my favorite protagonist, Death. Amazing gameplay, beautiful art direction, and a banger soundtrack by Jesper Kyd. Darksiders 2 is objectively the best game in the series and everyone should play it. Go and play it. Darksiders as a series is not the pinnacle of gaming, but we love it for what it is. It is a series that has died many deaths, but it always crawls its way back from hell. And I appreciate that persistence. Especially considering how many of my favorite video game series has faced the same challenge. So I really appreciate that Darksiders is still alive and kicking. But for now, we will sadly have to leave this conversation here, but I can't wait for Darksiders 4 and try it with the 4 horsemen again. Until then, I really appreciate all of you being here watching this entire video and this entire series, but for now, I will probably be moving on to something else. Thank you for watching guys, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.